Okay. I started recording. So one small request for the people who haven't joined this meeting, I would be sharing a video on the folder structure and where to put what code. So can you really go quick on the folder and explain what to put where? Real quick in 5 minutes.
Sure. Just a second. So the main folder structure here is this modules folder. Everything from the module folder is imported into the app file. For example, we have a user module where we have the domain user and everything related to that domain, like the mongoose model or the services, the business logic, the GraphQL things, everything is present inside of that module. From that module for GraphQL, we just have to import this file, the resolver file. We import the resolver file and we integrate it here. Just pass it into an array. In future, if we might have a post module, we'll just pass the post resolver into this array this way. What's inside of a module? So for example, if we go through the user module, we have the all of the core business logic inside of the user service file. Okay, so all the file which are ending with this service ts are supposed to be carrying our business logic. So it is just a class with these methods and everything related to that, like the checks and returning the errors or comparing the passwords or generating the JWT token, that logic is written here. Database interaction is also present here. Now, where is this database file imported from? User model. This is imported from that entity file. So the entity file is where we are describing our GraphQL return type using the object type thing and the MongoDB model. Okay, and we just export it from this file, get model for class, and we can simply use it here after importing it. Apart from these two files, for every service, we might have some validations to validate the input that we receive from the front end. So that validation logic is written inside of this file, user validations, using Joey. Then we went through entity, service, and validations. Then we have a resolver file. This is where we define the GraphQL queries and the mutations. So we mention the return type, we mention the input type, then we just delegate that thing to the service. Nothing else is handled here. Only the authorization, the return type, and the input type. Right? Apart from that, we have this inputs file. This is where we create the inputs for our GraphQL. They are similar to how we create a return type, just stored different in this folder because we might have a lot of inputs. So those inputs are just included inside of our resolver file. So these are the things that I had discussed up till now. Then we also have a DTOs file. This is something that I had not discussed earlier. So what we do in the DTOs file is we combine the different return types that might be returned as a response for any resolver. For example, I have this one, create user. Now if you check in the docs, we see create user. It returns something of type user register result. So we check here, what is user register result? It is a union of type user and user exists error. That means the response could be either of type name user or it could be of type name user exists error. The type name is here. So it is a combination of these two types. It could be either one of these results, user and user exists error, and we receive the schema along with that. So in this file, the dtos file, we are just combining the different return types. So for example, for the user register, I combined the user exists error, like the before registering we check if the user already exists or not. So we created the user exists error and we combine it with the user entity which we imported from here. So we created a union type here. So all the data transfer objects, that is the enhancements of the return type, are stored in this file. So that is it, what it's about. Sure. Just a second. Now, services which may not be part of a GraphQL, like which are not the GraphQL services, could be put here. So for example, I have the password service here. To hash a password or to compare a password, the code is here. Similarly, in future, if we integrate, let's say, a email service or a messaging service like Twilio, we'll create all those services here. The typings folder, this as I described earlier, all the TypeScript types will be defined here, so that in future if we want to share these types with the front end, we can just create a module out of it. Apart from that, we have utils. Now utils had that the base error class. Apart from that, we had that joey utility for checking those errors. And did we export anything? Yes, okay. So we have auth checker here. Now this auth checker is required by the main Apollo server. So we defined it only once. So what Apollo does is, so we provided the auth checker here, right? From the auth checker, this is kind of like a Node.js middleware that we had in Express. Now in Express, every middleware was executed before a route that we include it in. So if we wanted to validate a route, we would just put a auth middleware there. So this is similar to that. We provide it once to Apollo here, but Apollo doesn't run it on every request. It will only run it when we ask for it. For example, here, authorize. So only then that particular middleware will be run. Apart from that, we have what, middlewares, current user thing. Now this is something that will be run on every request. So that's why this is just a simple Express middleware, and I integrated it here, current user. So what this does is it expects the authorization token, and if it is present, it decodes it and attaches it to the request, current user. But no error is thrown from here. Even if you didn't provide an authorization, it will still let you proceed, because maybe we don't need to authorize it out. So this will just try to decode the current user property. And here we define that current user is optional, like it may or may not be present. Then this current user thing is checked by the auth checker that I described earlier. So whenever we provide that auth decorator to a particular query, this code will be run. It will extract the user from the request. If it is not present, it will send you an error. So that's the middleware thing. And the last thing that we need to go through is logger. So this is just the Winston module, and it creates the log file for anything happening on backend. So we create a logger here, we create the GraphQL logger here, and we just attach it in the app file. Alright. We export the logger from here so that we can log something from any module. So like we imported it here, and to log something we just do it like this, logger.info. So each of that thing is logged into the console by default. But if there are errors, then those will be logged here in your files. Right now there is none present because we didn't. Okay, here it is, logs. So logs folder will be created and your logs will be here. Every error that we encountered, any exceptions, or just the usual info. Okay, so that's it for the structure on the backend.
Does this code base also include the roles right management?
Not yet, but we can include it later.
Because I saw
Role,
some code.
yeah, this thing. So it is expecting the roles from here. And if the rules are present, so what we will do here is, I don't remember the exact syntax right now, but it was something like this. You can check it in that type GraphQL, but this authorization thing, this authorize middleware, it accepts the roles, an array of roles. For example, I say that admin and consider something else. So these two roles only should be able to access it. So auth checker will check here. If the roles array is provided and if it matches the user roles, then it will let you go. It will return true. If it does not matches, then access denied error will be sent. See, we just need to include our Mongo URI here and the JWT secret. So once the end satisfaction, environment satisfaction is fulfilled, then to run it in development, we just need this command here. Yarn start dev or npm run. So this command, and your development server is ready to go, and we can access it at localhost 3000. Uh, I don't remember. It's not hard coded, but we have an option here, I think. Just let me check. Okay, right now it's hard coded. Yeah.